Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Virtual Happy Hour. Yay! We are going live here on Monday, October 30th. It is so awesome to see everyone. Just want to give a big shout out to everyone here that is live. Now, if you are wanting to know how to, because some of you guys don't have access for me to go ahead and see your name, you can go ahead and just click this link. I know it's a creepy font. If you're having trouble reading it, just let me know. So it's chat.restream.io/Facebook. This is going to give them access to allow to be able to, let me see your names. If not, just let me know who's saying hi. Because otherwise, what happens is I just see you guys just say Facebook user. And I would like to know who I'm saying hi to. I'm going to try really hard to keep track of comments in other groups, but it's just not always possible to do so. So, like I said, if you haven't already, please feel free if you want me to be able to see who is messaging me. Now, if you don't want to do it through Facebook, you can actually go to YouTube. Let me give you guys, hey, Ruth, great to see you here. Just so you guys know, you can go to youtube.com/savvygroomer and you can watch right from there. And I can see everyone who's logged in there, or at least their usernames. So welcome, everyone. It's always so good to see you. As always, if you come here live, I'm more than happy to answer your questions live. If not, I'm going to go ahead and pull questions from either Savvy Pet Professionals, which is our free Facebook group, or I'm going to go ahead and pull questions from people that have emailed us. Hey, Britt, great to see you here live from Alabama. I love it. So I got this really cute glass. I don't know if you guys can see it, but it looks like a little kitty cat. So I'm going to use that for my drink. Little happy hour. I don't know if you guys like soju. So it is actually, I'm not sure what it is, but it's really good. I had gotten this when I was in Boston. I went to Shabu Shabu, and I believe this is technically Korean, but I think it's like anything, right? Everyone's going to have what they like. So this is a plum, and it's just kind of sweet, like a wine cooler. Come on, Fire. If you're coming up, come up. Him with his dirty face. Are you dressing up tomorrow and for what? So Ronan was supposed to be a World War I Army vet, and he actually bought a World War I gas mask. So originally we were going to go together as Army comrades. However, excuse you, sir. Unfortunately, we decided that maybe the gas mask wasn't such a wise choice to be walking around for Halloween with. So now he's going to go as Harry Potter. Well, not literally Harry Potter. Ronan is a Hufflepuff. So I'm going to see what I can do, because I have a few ideas what I'm going to dress up as. But I love Halloween. It was always my dad's favorite holiday, and he used to go all out. Excuse you, sir. This cat is being a cat, right? So I love it. And I can't wait to see everyone's costumes. I think that's like my favorite thing too, is watching everybody dress up. I don't do sexy Halloween very well. That's not really my jam. I tend to have issues with sexy costumes. They tend to not be flattering on me, and they tend to be very cold where I live, so I generally don't do them. But I am all for whatever anyone's going to do. Have you guys seen that video of the person being a cow? They're like, oh, dress up as a cow. And like one of them is in this really sexy outfit where it basically looks like, like a cow-colored leotard. And then the other friend is like in this poofy cow. Sir, he wants this. You can have this. Do you want this? Oh. So that's me. I'm the friend with like the puffy jacket. So I don't have anything definitely set, because we'll see how that goes. But it'll be fun either way. Oh, it's so good. So tasty. So I saw this great question. And it was only posted like 20 minutes ago, not even. So I'm going to go ahead and post it so that I can answer it. And hopefully you don't hear my cat playing games with the piece of thing from that. So, like I said, if you guys have questions, always feel free to post them right into the chat. It's always easier for me to see chat if you're in YouTube. However, if you're here live on Facebook, that's also great. So this was a great question. So as I'm trying to understand the pay by hourly for a W-2 employee, groomer, or bather. Someone said they paid hourly plus commission to equal 30%, but not sure really. So I think what's hard about doing an hourly plus commission, and I will say, like, I don't mind hourly plus production bonuses, and those production bonuses would be paid out quarterly. I think what's hard about having, hopefully you don't hear him bouncing around. I think what's hard about giving commission like that is that the whole point of hourly is sometimes I win and sometimes you win, right? There's that flexibility between us. Sometimes you're going to make more money than I will. And I'm not talking like 40, 50%, but we create a minimum and a maximum that you're expected to do. And then beyond that, I'm going to have you go ahead and create more money for me. So for instance, and again, I like the point system. So if you're using the groomer point system and that person is expected to do 10 points a day, for those of you guys not totally familiar with the point system, 2 points would be a Shih Tzu getting a 5 strip. That's so funny. I don't know how I did that. Getting a 5 strip. Nothing really fancy, right? Regular groom. So if we took that dog, 1 point would be for the bath, blow dry, nails, ears, all the prep work, and then 1 point would be for the all over haircut. So a groomer who can do 10 points in one day, in an 8-hour day, that would be about realistically 5 Shih Tzus a day. Now that's important because I might make my minimum, right, 4, so 8 points, and my maximum 12. So you're going to make anywhere between, some days you're going to have less, some days you're going to have more. That way, if someone calls out, that groomer is not losing, right, what's going on. And if somebody is a little bit more feisty, or if we happen to, accidentally double book or add an extra dog, it's not a big deal, right? So we have a minimum and a maximum. We try to find a really fair balance with that. And I think that's incredibly important. So without that, right, if you're just going to have an hourly plus commission, well, what's going to end up happening is that we're not hoping that people will help us long term. So the reason I highly suggest doing quarterly bonuses with employees is because what happens in a lot of grooming businesses is the employee will work really hard for a week, earn that extra money, and then start calling out or starting to be like, no, I don't want more dogs, right? When we do this on a quarterly basis, I'm saying for the whole 3 months, you need to meet your minimums, exceed your maximums, right? And you need to do it fairly consistently. Also, by giving them a quarterly bonus, if they're going to quit, it's going to be 4 times a year, right? That helps me out a lot when I'm thinking about retention and keeping employees for long term. I think it sounds great in theory to have somebody, for better or worse, right, have commission every week, but that's a lot of math to do every single week. Also, by us having the hourly, I'm promising you a steady paycheck. And I think that's really fair. And with the quarterly production bonuses, I'm saying, hey, if you're a good employee for the entire quarter, and these should also be around when I'm doing my quarterly reviews, then I'm going to go ahead and give you that extra money, right? I think that's a fair trade. I think that expecting a bonus every week is unrealistic. So I will say that about that, right? I do think there have been people that will do these calculations every week. But again, it doesn't encourage those quarterly, if I get a bonus basically every week, then what is my incentive to do good over a quarter versus just doing good for a week? And I think you're basically having the same problem with these hourly employees versus your commissioned employees, right? The whole point is that I'm saying, hey, I'm expecting you to do this production. And while you do this production, this is what this hourly is worth, right? And then after that, we'll see how that goes. So I hope that helps. Hey, everyone. It's great to see you here live. And I hope that commission on hourly versus commission works. And again, I don't think that it necessarily is the best thing to do, but I totally understand it when people want to do that. So I'm going to let that person know that we answered it live. Wonderful. So, and like I said, guys, while I'm here live, I'm more than happy to answer your questions. Hey, Mindy. Hey, Amanda. Hey, Elizabeth. It's so wonderful to see you guys. I know. I'm excited to see you all next week. Not next week, next month. That'll be good. So here is another one. So I'm going to write down basically the question. I know I missed a couple of people. So I'm going to be at Tacoma, and I'm going to be at Atlanta Pet Fair. I'm sorry, Groomed, which is in Atlanta. And what's exciting is that I will have a booth at both of them, so you guys will be able to come find me. No, next month, so we do a virtual happy hour every single month. Savvy Groomer is taking a nice long, I'm practicing what I preach. So Groomed is in March, I want to say. So it's March 8th to March 10th. So that's going to be in Atlanta. And then Tacoma is in April. So those will be good times. So Savvy Groomer, me, is going to be taking a pause. We're going to, obviously, for our monthly membership clients, we're going to have access. They're going to have access to everything in the membership, and we're going to be going live for that in November and in December. But so I will be away November 10th through the 15th, the 19th through the 24th. And then I am literally leaving November 29th. I've got to talk to my Price Increase Masterclass Live people. And then I will not be back till December 24th. So I'm going to be going away for about 5 or 6 weeks in those 2 months. And we're going to be practicing how well things like cruise ships and other places work with virtual assistant stuff, because as we're launching the virtual assistant class, I want to double check a lot of those things as we're teaching people how to become a VA for the pet grooming industry. So let me answer this question. I thought this was a really good question. So how do I enforce no call, no show? It should be no show. So the question was, how do I enforce no call, no show fees when I do not accept credit cards? And I think this is a great question. And it brings up a lot of really important questions beyond that. Number one is, why aren't you accepting credit cards? So a lot of you guys will be like, I don't want to accept credit cards because it costs so much. But statistically, people are going to tip more on credit cards. People will, again, we want to have a card on file. That way, if they do no call, no show, it's really easy. If someone no calls, no shows, I can literally just hit the card, charge them, and send them a text saying, hey, so sorry we missed you. You didn't show up. We've already charged the card on file. Let us know if anything changes, or, looking forward to seeing you at your next appointment, right? Easy breezy, lemon squeezy. When you don't accept credit cards, you are going to have to get more creative. Now, ways of doing this, can be, because again, if you're not accepting credit cards, I'm going to assume you're also not accepting invoices or any other kind of electronic payment. You really don't want to do anything like, direct transfers. It gets really sketchy and dicey. You really don't want to do that. And honestly, I've seen so many people that have done that in the VA world and the online world. where it's a wire transfer. And if there's a problem, you don't really have anything, any, situation. It gets a little complicated. I'm trying to like tidy that up. But basically, like one of the girls I know, someone had accidentally put in the wrong number and it transferred that to that account, only to find out it wasn't her account. It was somebody else's account because she put in a number wrong. And then you're in this weird place where the client's like, well, I did pay it. And you're like, yeah, but it's the wrong number. It didn't come to me. But you feel bad that this person paid it. They paid to the wrong person. There's nothing they can do. Or they got a fee, right? Or you got a fee, depending upon what happened. I've seen people who have direct transfers through QuickBooks. And again, the client inputted a number wrong and they were charged a fee because the person accidentally put the number wrong and it basically like a check bounced. And that's another thing, well, you can always have a check. Sure, you can have a check, but the amount of money that it costs when a check bounce can be astronomical. I've seen some banks now that charge $45 for a bounce check. Again, the hope is that this person comes in and they're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Here is a check or here is cash. And they want to rebook. But the likelihood of that happening is pretty much slim to none, right? The likelihood that someone is going to drive over there to your business, hand you a check or mail you a check, right? And for that amount of money is less likely than someone who's going to hand over a credit card or somebody who already has sent over a credit card. That's absolutely a way to do it. Do I think it's the best business practice? No, I think that it makes it really complicated. People physically feel pain when they write a check or when they hand over cash. For whatever reason, credit cards do not hit the pain center of the brain. And because of that, we have a situation where people, for better, for worse, right? They're not feeling this pain when they do it. So it hurts, but it doesn't hurt in the same way that a check or cash would, right? So again, I think it's already hard to enforce those things. And not hard as in the sense that people will fight it. It's hard in the sense that people don't enjoy paying for things that they didn't get. It does not feel good. So we want to make sure that when we're doing it, we're ideally doing it in a way that they're not having too much of a bad taste in their mouth. But, my concern is always, lowering your risk. And if you create a situation where you're going to have them mail you a check, are you okay with the fact that they might bounce that check? And if they bounce that check, or put a stop payment on that check, right? Are you really going to go after them? Are you really going to fight that with them on that? And that's always the question, right? And that's why credit cards are significantly easier. They're easier for you to do taxes. They're easier if you want to buy a home or prove your income. For the amount of fees we pay, they're actually well worth it. And I hate saying that because I definitely think that, credit cards suck, right? Like they're my least favorite thing, but I do think they're better off. Hey, Jamie, great to see that. So I hope that helps. Like I said, if you're here live and you want me to answer your question, please feel free to post. If not, I'm going to keep scrolling through and start making a plan. And this is a good one too. So this was a great question, and it was, what software are you using for your membership model? Now, for some of you guys who maybe never heard of a membership model, so the Savvy Groomer teaches 5 different membership models, and we're not going to go through them. We actually created a really awesome workshop for that, and it's literally called "Is a Membership Model Right for Me?" I'm going to go ahead and post that for you guys. That's savvygroomer.com/MW for membership workshop. So you can see right there, savvygroomer.com/MW, nice and easy. So a lot of you guys, when you're doing your membership, you want to know, how am I going to organize all these people? Now, unfortunately, we have not found a software that we've chosen to work with when working with this. We found a few that we think were really promising. The problem that we came down to is a lot of them either didn't want to do it the way that we teach, or they kind of made things harder, unfortunately. Or honestly, they want to make it very expensive for you guys. That's not something that Savvy Groomer is all about. So, what I will say is this is that depending upon which membership model you choose to do, there's so many different ways. So, one of the models is called enrollment fee, and this is literally a yearly fee that people pay to be your member. It's really easy to just either invoice people. If you're using Square, you can invoice them. Or if you're using Stripe, you can just invoice them. And I would just keep a Google Doc and organize it and have it set up, right? And then in your regular grooming software, you could just write the date that it's due, right? And if you have it, your little enrollment fee, enrolled, blah, blah, date, parentheses, expires this date, right? And so you can keep track of that. And you can either have it set up as a subscription where every year it's going to automatically charge it, or it's going to automatically send them a new invoice. That's really easy for those of you guys that want to do an enrollment model. Now, if you want to do what we call either, generally a niche membership, which is basically they're paying for their groom every month. And we like to see a 30-day cancellation. So we like to call it the last month's groom. So they're going to pay last month's groom, and then they're going to pay for the groom every month. So some people, we don't like to see this, but some of you guys you'll have the last month groom that'll be invoiced, or it'll be paid, upon arrival. And then every month when they come in, they're just going to automatically hand you a check or cash. Not my favorite place. That's I'm assuming you guys do. Another way is, again, things like Stripe or Square. It's very easy. Your online processor can easily set these up. Now, will you need to double check these payments? Absolutely. And again, there's so many ways to have reminders sent to you if someone bounces a membership. You can do things like have everybody pay at the 1st of the month or the 15th of the month, right? We used to have the Savvy Groomer membership only open from the 1st to the 5th, and that was really, really helpful. As we got better in our back end processes, we were able to open it up all month long, which has made our life significantly easier. But yeah, it's really easy. And again, because you have that last month's groom, it gives you 30 days. Now, if you choose not to do that last month's groom, it's going to be really hard because, again, if you're expecting the payment on the 1st and their appointment's on the 5th, that's not a lot of time to kind of chase them for money. That's where we like to have it at least 30 days in advance. And then for your annual memberships, where they literally either pay the whole amount manually, right? Once a year, sorry. If they're going to pay that all up front for the year, that's the easiest, right? And then for some of you guys are essentially paying the entire year in 12 segments, right? And so that's easy as well, where you would basically make a payment, right? And then break it down in payments. Again, Square has lots of these things. There's so many things. And again, even with the unlimited, we like to see you guys with the unlimited have at least a month in advance. It's so easy when you have 30 days to figure out what's going on. And all of these softwares include ways of just sending information. This is one of the few things I don't know if they're going to integrate properly into a grooming software. Honestly, I've had a lot of students that go to memberships end up using what's called acuity scheduling, which is an extraordinarily reasonably priced online software. And the reason why is because they can create the subscriptions, they can create those group rates. It's like $25 a month. And because all of the grooms, depending upon what membership model you want, have to give you at least 30 days notice to update the groom anyway, you don't need the level of notes that a lot of the groom softwares require. A membership model grooming business is just significantly easier. It's significantly less of a headache. So I will say that when it comes down to the software, you don't have to get crazy because, again, if you do it the way the Savvy Groomer suggests you do, it's going to just simplify everything. So I hope that helps. Ruth said that accepting credit cards was the best thing she did for her business. Absolutely. I think that, again, I don't love credit cards, guys. I don't love fees. I don't love spending extra money that I don't have to. But the amount of professionalism, the amount of ability to track your income, the amount of ways that credit cards protect your business is absolutely astronomical. And I think it's really important that as an industry, we consider, do we really want to have those? Like, are we willing to pay for those protections? And I think that it's well worth it. I don't think that the cash mom and pop kind of grooming salon is going to have the same protections. And especially where, we're getting away from paying our employees illegally under the table as an industry. We're trying to pay our taxes as an industry. We're really making sure that as we're moving forward, that we're doing things legitimately. And credit cards add a lot of legitimacy to your business for better or for worse. So I hope that helps. I'm going to let them know that I answered it. Boop. It's so fun. I love these things. Hey, Sophia, what up, yo? We are doing an Ask River Anything. Anything you want to know? Go for it. I had a good question and then it booped away. It was a long one though. So this is a good one. So don't judge me. I'm going to give you the keeping a card on file so I'm a no-show problem. 1000%. I think that's where a lot of people are trying not to collect credit cards or trying not to have credit cards. And it literally immediately solves it. If I have a card on file and my cancellation policy, you're not going to no call, no show because you don't want to be charged, right? And even then, if it is, I'm on YouTube, I'm on Facebook, I am streamed in a bunch of places. It's pretty nifty. So I'm on YouTube and I'm in 3 I'm in my personal page, my Facebook page, and I'm on another page. I don't know what page I'm on. So what up, yo? It's always fun. I'm having a good time. Britt is saying, we are switching to a monthly membership in January. Super excited and nervous. Would have never thought about it if it weren't for you. Thank you. Absolutely. Doing a membership is incredibly important to do it properly. And once you know how to do it the right way, you know what model you're doing, you know all the pitfalls, you've protected yourself against them, and you've got a membership contract written by an attorney, that's going to save your butt. And it really is absolutely amazing. And more groomers are doing it. It's funny because I hear all the time where people are like, oh, well, I don't want to do a membership because, the economy is going to crash or this or that. And I'm like, listen, I would rather know who is willing to commit to me via contract now before the economy crashes. I don't think the economy is going to crash the way that people think it's going to crash. I think it's going to dip, but I think it's only going to dip because people were overpaying for everything, right? That's what's going to happen when people are paying $10 for a carton of eggs, right? They're like, maybe I need to reevaluate my priorities. What I want is somebody who knows that grooming is a priority. They already know that, right? And one of the easiest ways of them doing that is to say, you know what, I believe in this so much, I am willing to commit to this. So this was actually I'm going to really condense this question down. So somebody was like, what do you do when your competition is Dollar Tree prices? And I thought that was awesome, right? I think that's a great question. Oh, yeah. Sophia's saying that Sarah's been doing really well with the membership plan. Absolutely. Her and I talked about that a long time ago, and it creates an exclusivity. It creates this mutual commitment that you're not going to get anywhere else in any other business model, right? Because they're saying, yes, I want you to be my groomer. It's essentially a marriage. I know not everyone's into marriages, but it's really important if we want customers to have that level of loyalty to put their money where their mouth is, right? A lot of us close our businesses books, right? We're like, no, we're not taking any new clients. I'm like, cool. Do you have anything where they're committed, right? And a lot of us just don't. We just close our books and we say, okay, we're not gonna interview anyone else, but they can leave at any point with nothing, to back any of that up. So let's talk about this question. Like I said, if you guys have more questions, please go ahead and post. We're on for another 20 minutes, so I can probably answer at least 2 more questions after this one. So what to do if your competition is Dollar Tree prices? So I always start with this. So I used to be near, my area has a lot of hair salons, a lot of Italian people. It is what it is. And long story short, there was this really cute little boutique hair salon, really professional, really lovely, and basically a Supercuts, right? The Dollar Tree of hair salons moved in a few doors down. And I want to say their haircuts were like super cheap. They were like $7 or $15. Like they were like dirt cheap. And this other place at the time, I think was like $40 or $45. So you're sitting there going, oh my God, I am 4 times, 3 times as much as these people, right? That's a lot. I see groomers like, I'm the most expensive. I'm like, how much more? Like $20. I'm like, until you are 3 to 4 times your competition, I wouldn't really worry all that much. As long as you're good at your marketing, your soulmate clients, etc. But long story short, the store put out a sign that said, we fix, I can't remember if it was $7 or $15 haircuts, right? So they were, instead of being worried about it, right, they called them out. And I think too often, I don't think we need to do anything like that, but I wouldn't be too worried, right? I mean, if we as an industry know that we can't, there's not enough groomers. We already know there's not enough groomers. We already know there is an abundance of dogs. There's an abundance of dogs and cats that need groomers, professional groomers. We know how hard it is to hire staff. If we know that and a place opens up that's really cheap, one of 2 things is going to happen. Either one, they're not going to find people to work for them or not for very long because they're not going to be able to pay them a livable wage. Even if Petco and PetSmart give a groomer 50%, right? They pay for their school. They do all of these things and they still can't keep people. They're literally willing to pay people retirement, they're paying for health care, right? They're paying all these things and they still can't keep people, right? So they're paying for a lost leave and all that. Hey, Kirsten, great to see you live. So a lot of times we have to unfortunately wait them out. We have to wait them out because what's going to happen is that they are going to either burn themselves out, unfortunately. They're going to really hurt a dog because they're rushing or they don't have the money to do things properly or they're not properly trained, right? And I hate to say that because if there was some sort of governing body, right, we could maybe protect those pets, but until there is something, there's nothing we can do. So it does suck sometimes to wait people out, but you see it happen. I will say, I've been in the pet industry, can't believe like 30 years, feels like way too long. But I'm in more than 15, less than 20 years grooming. And what I've noticed is that the people that I watch come in and out of the grooming industry, the businesses, I see someone come in and they're really low and they either jack up their prices after 2 years because they can't hire anyone because they're not making any money, because they can't outpace right? All of that. You just see them come and go. And what sucks is that it's really hard in the beginning because it hurts your bottom line. But again, this is where we need to make sure that your customers are not coming to you for your prices. You know, when they don't care how much you cost, it's all about the value. For better or for worse, Savvy Groomer is extraordinarily expensive if you compare to other companies that offer pet grooming specific education. Our live masterclass was $500 compared to a lot of these other ones are, they are $100 or $200. But the truth is that for me to give the quality that I give, for me to invest in my business the way I need to, we're going to have these price points, right? And does that kind of suck when you're the most expensive? Meh. I'm not worried because I know what I offer is worth every penny. And I know that the people that aren't ready aren't going to buy, right? I don't often have people buy my product and then they don't use it. Maybe they don't, use it all the way. Maybe they decide to take the bits and pieces they like, and that's perfectly fine. That's their choice. But I don't really have a ton of people who buy stuff and then just let it sit because they've invested so much. And I would rather have less people who make big changes, right? Less customers that most of them are making big changes to their life than more sales and people that are just going to let it sit and collect dust. That would bother me. Personally, I would rather not have that. It would just make me, I don't want to say upset, right? But it wouldn't feel good. It feels really good when I talk to people and I know that they're changing their life, that I am a part of that, and not in a like I'm here to save anyone way, right? I just have the knowledge that I can give you, right? My goal is for you to find what you need and do it, right? And absolutely, I see lots of groomers come and go, right? That's what happens, unfortunately, right? These people, they come into our industry or they end up, for better or for worse. They think that they're going to charge less and somehow be able to do it better. I think I was in Atlanta one year, and this guy I don't know if he was a doodle owner. I knew he had doodles. He either was a doodle breeder or a doodle owner. And he was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna open up a grooming business that really does like affordable doodle grooming." And he just went on and on and on and on. And I sat him down and we had an adult conversation. And I was like, "Do you understand why groomers price this way?" "Oh, well, they just don't like doodles." Da, da, da. I'm like, "Well, okay, why do you think they don't like doodles?" And we talked about that and we discussed it. And I'm like, I said, "How long does it take you to groom your dog?" And he's like, "I don't know." I know Fire's like wants all the attention, all the attention. He's literally sitting behind, like rubbing his face on my laptop. I'm surprised he's not knocking it over. But long story short, this gentleman was so nice and so sweet. And it was really hard to kind of not puncture his dream. And I sound like a little drunk. Love soju. If you guys like this stuff, it's like plum and it's like candy. It's delicious. Happy hour. Whoop, whoop. So long story short, we talked about it. And he's like, I'm like, "How long does it take you to do your dog?" He's like, "Oh my God, like all day." I'm like, "Right. So how many doodles are you going to do?" He's like, "I guess like 2 a day." I'm like, "Right. So how much is this?" And we just sat there and he's like, "Oh." I'm like, "Right. So I can do 5 little dogs or 1 or 2 of your dogs." And he's like, "Oh." And he's like, "Well, how much are the little dogs?" I'm like, "Oh, on the low end, they're 50 and the high end, they're about 100. He's like, "Oh." And you could just see the wheels turning. And so it's one of those things, right? Where sometimes someone comes in and they just don't understand. I mean, how many times have we had people that are business owners that are not groomers come in and they don't understand our industry? They really don't. It's so frustrating. I don't always love coaching people that are not groomers. I want them to know what it's like to do a full day's worth of dogs. I think that when you have done a full day's worth of grooming, ideally a full month worth of grooming, you understand the level of physical and emotional stress that comes with it. And I think that you make kinder decisions, you treat your employees better, and you have more respect for the industry, for better or for worse, right? All right. If you guys are here and you have a question, please feel free to type it in. I would love to answer one of you guys' questions live. If not, I'm going to keep going through my other questions that are in the group. What do you think, kitten? He's just sitting all relaxed. Wish I could just take a picture of you and share because we all love you. I had a really good time at Fun in the Sun for those of you guys that, that's a great quote. When I was first bathing, I was talking about groomers and the prices, and he said, wow, those groomers must be making bank. It can't take more than 15 minutes to groom a dog. That is the truth, right? That's the truth. It's, again, like people don't know what they don't know. And I totally respect that. But it is really funny, right? And I think that's part of us, right? Oh, your husband. Oh, bless his heart. Every time it's funny too, because I do think that everyone should have their husband or spouse come in for a day of bathing and drying and doing all that. Because a lot of them don't understand how physically taxing it is. My mom, she is the cutest thing, but I'm a groomer and I taught my sister how to be a groomer. So she had 2 groomer daughters, right? And when she bought the cat grooming business, she still didn't understand, grooming. So I said, you need to be in the van. So you need to learn how to cat groom. You need to be in the van. And she's so cute. So she's only grooming at the time every 4-week cats. They're predominantly bath and blow dries and some comb cuts. So we're not talking like anything crazy. We're not talking line cuts. We're not talking matted cats. We're just talking like easy breezy stuff. And she was like, man, I am so tired. And I'm like, Mom, you're not doing any scissoring, right? You are not, right? You are not doing any dogs. Cats are, we have some Maine Coons, but for the most part, we're talking like Persians and like domestic. So we're talking like tops 12-pound cats. And I said, now imagine big dogs. Now imagine hand scissoring. I said, now imagine, a dog that weighs as much as a toddler or more, right? Not wanting to be groomed. Like it was so funny because we have a Caddyshack vac in the van, which is basically like a plexiglass tube for you to dry. Like, and imagine if you didn't have that and that cat was just bing bonging all over the, grooming table. And she's like, I don't know how they do it. I'm like, exactly. You are spoiled and you still think it's hard. So, it's been an ongoing joke since. He's a contractor, and I always say to him, can't take more than a day to build a house. That's so true. That's so cute, right? I love that so much. This is a good one. So let me copy this one. I think it's fun. And don't get me wrong. I think that, contractors too, right? I think they have the same problem where people just assume things are so easy to do. It's like, oh, this will be no big deal. Blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, or car mechanics. Come sit. Whoop. So this person said, hey, I'm looking at hiring my first employee, reception, bather, helper. Just wondering what some good questions to ask during the interview would be. I am drawing a blank. So I don't love that we would wait until we're hiring someone to know what questions to ask. For better or for worse, I think this is an incredibly potentially big problem because the way that in a perfect world, and again, I understand this is a perfect world, we would have our roles and tiers set first, right? So we would know when we begin to hire someone what exactly I expect of them, how they fit into the structure of my employees, how they're going to be able to be demoted if this is a, starter tier where, this is where they begin and there's nowhere down from here. If you don't do well here, you're going to get fired, etc. I think that's where we really need to start with those questions is what are they doing? Right? How can we best work with them on that? Okay. Let me look up. I want to pull up a slide deck from the Hire Masterclass. Yeah, this should be here. What module do we? So yeah, we talk about role in the Hire Masterclass. We talk about the different roles that people need to have, how we're going to collect them, and then we suggest 4 interviews. So we actually really suggest that you guys know a lot about them. Like we suggest a 15-minute phone conversation, just literally just shoot the shit with them, ask them very basic questions, all of that stuff, right? And then 2 would be in person off property. So at a Panera, somewhere that's neutral territory. 3 would be them coming in after hours for them to work on 1, tops 2 dogs. Ideally your dogs or an employee's dogs. That way if they mess up or they harm a dog, it's not like a customer. And then 4 would be a full day worth of working interview. And again, I think that is incredibly important when we're looking at these things, right? Because again, for better, for worse, we want to make sure that we have somebody in here that, for better, for worse, is going to be able to do that. So actually, this is a good one too. Thank you. I took your price increase master, did my numbers, raised my prices while he poo-poos the whole idea and ended up being the one to get us through winter financially. So thank you so much. Best decision I ever made. Thank you. I'm glad to hear that. Again, I think it's really, really important that we are, right, finding those things. I do think often, for better, for worse, right, that we need to figure out exactly how we're going to organize our pricing. And I do think that there's so much there that for better, for worse, that people think that we can't do. And then when we do it, it's like, oh my God, that's amazing. We're like, we know, thank you for noticing. Right. And again, too, with hiring people, you want to make sure like there's so much involved, like even the way that you're doing your application, and like there's just so much involved that I think as an industry, like we're not talking about. But here's interviews. Let me pull that sucker up. I got to remember how to do that though with this sucker. It's so funny. I'm so spoiled with Zoom. Yeah, and again, this is in beta mode still, so it's not quite perfect, but let me see if I can, there we go. We can turn that sucker on so you guys can see it. Whoop, come back here. Thank you. That can go down. Yeah, so this is the interview process that we suggest. So 15-minute phone call. If they're not a good fit, don't worry about it. Invite them to a curated application, in-person interview, skill evaluation, and then your working interview. I think those are honestly the best ways to go about that. We have examples of what to ask during a 15-minute phone conversation. And again, we go really deep when we do a class. I know it's not always the most fun. So one thing we like to ask is, what is your favorite childhood book? What animals, and what, about animals that had animals, and why did you choose that book? would you like about it and why was it your favorite? Are you reading anything today? If they can't think of a single book as a child that had an animal or was about animals, ask them about their favorite movie, right? And why did they choose that movie? And, do they watch anything today, right? And for some of you guys, maybe like, why would I ask these things? That seems like really weird, right? Well, the reason you would ask these things is basically, I want to know, did you love animals as a child, right? How quickly can you think on your feet, right? How ingrained is loving animals, right? And for most part, people will have that conversation and be like, oh, I didn't, always love animals as a kid, but, I love the fox and the hound, or, and it's a great way too for people to show you who they are without actually telling you. Like all the time, a lot of you guys want them to tell you who they are instead of letting them show you who they are. So, for instance, if I wanted to have somebody tell me who I am, right? Tell me who they are. And I love doing this. I love asking them what their favorite childhood book is. And then I look up the major themes of that book. Like when I had one of my employees look up, I asked them what their favorite childhood book was with pets, and they said where the red fern grows is. Well, what does the red fern grow about? It's about sacrifice, it's about family, it's about a deep love and care and loyalty. And that is exactly who she is, right? If you were to ask me what my favorite childhood book would be, if it wasn't called The Wild, it would be The Black Stallion, right? So I want freedom. No one's shocked. I have this, really deep, profound connection to, feeling wild, feeling free, right? And again, there's things that they'll tell you about, and it could even be something really kid-like. It could be like Snuggle Puppy, and it's about, a little dog singing to its puppy, right? So they can be really family oriented. Let people show you who they are versus trying for them to tell you who they are. I think too often when we ask them questions, we're not actually um, allowing them to let us know who they are. And if you guys have ever seen the movie 500 Days of Summer, we always say make sure that you're not getting stuck in the 500 Days of Summer syndrome, where we connect with people over something really arbitrary and we start making up lies about them accidentally. In the movie 500 Days of Summer, Summer mentions that she likes the Smiths, and immediately the main male character gets connected to her and decides that she's the one based on things that are just kind of arbitrary that they both like, right? And again, we tend to do that. We tend to identify ourselves with these people. I love Born to Trot. Yes. Grapes of Wrath. Listen, what are the themes in there? And again, this is really quick. Born to Trot book themes. Oh man, did that win a boy and his filly get the chance to prove their greatness, right? It is a Newbery. Oh no, she's an award-winning author. I was like, I'm pretty either she got it, right? So we've got a lot of family, we've got a lot of striving for greatness, right? We've got a lot of situation there where you've got somebody who wants to do something great but still be founded in their family, right? So that's what's fun, right? You get to just kind of look at them. And again, it's not perfect, it's not like magic, but there's a reason that people do that. And there's so many things that we can do in person. We can test them without them realizing we're testing them. I'm a big fan of doing the blue pen test. That's essentially, I ask them to bring a blue pen and I remind them 2 to 3 times. So this is not one time I mentioned it. Claudia, lovely to see you here live. Oh, I love that. I love when we get to see each other. But, for instance, I can ask for a blue pen. Now you might be like, that's not fair. And I've heard people say, oh, that's abusive. It's only abusive if I have mentioned it to you. If I mention it off the cuff once and I expect you to remember it, But if I sit here, right, and I say to you, hey, please bring a blue pen. Blue pens are easier for me to read. And I'm going to have you be filling some things out. And then when I send you your reminder text and I say, hey, Susie Q, I'm so excited to see you at your next, at your interview. As a gentle reminder, please bring your blue pen, right? So I've reminded you at least twice, if not 3 times. And it's not just, did you remember? But it's also your reaction to not remembering, right? I love when I have somebody that's coming with their blue, they forget their blue pen and they're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And then I would say something along the lines of, not a problem. What I can do is I can reschedule you to later in the day. You can go buy your blue pen and I will see you in a few hours. How do they deal with that? Are they like, well, that's stupid. I don't want to do that. Or do they act like you are now inconveniencing them for setting a boundary? Right. So I get to let them show me who they are. Are they the kind of person that accepts responsibility for their actions and their mistakes? Or are they the kind of person that, refuses to do that? Right. And there's no right or wrong answer, right? There's no right or wrong answer for you. I personally think that if they're not willing to accept the responsibility, I don't want to hire them. I don't want to hire somebody that makes excuses and isn't willing to take accountability. And another thing they can do is I don't mind when people say, listen, I looked for a blue pen, I could not find one. But what I did bring is a blue crayon, a blue marker, a blue whatever, pencil. At least they tried. At least they put forth effort. At least then they attempted to do that, right? And I think those are the situations that have an opportunity to work with someone versus someone who goes, no, I didn't bring it. You're like, okay, would you like to reschedule? No, I don't want to do that. Okay, well, that person's not going to put in any effort if and when there's an issue. And even if it's arbitrary, even if it's stupid, I've asked you to do this. And you choosing to not follow through and not to respect my boundary is a red flag, right? There are so many ways in the Hire Masterclass that we've taught you guys how to sniff out these people. And I really believe that if we took the opportunity, right? If we took the opportunity to do these things, that we would have significantly better employees in general. That said, these people are harder to find. And that's where a lot of us are better off training our own, but knowing who to train as our own is not easy. You're going to have to sniff out the good ones. And that means spending a lot of time doing that stuff. But anyway, guys, I really appreciate all of you. If there is anything else you guys want to ask, I'm happy to work through it. If not, not a problem. And I will head out for the night because I don't know about you, but I'm ready for bed. It is only 8 o'clock here, and I would love to just curl up in my bed. The kitty cat is on my lap. He's making my legs fall asleep, but he's cute, so he'll be forgiven. He's a good little kitty cat. And that's about it. So thank you guys so much for being here. I will be here next month. I have the date. It is going to be the last, I sound silly, right? The last November. Let me pull that up and let you guys know. And of course, so that's going to be November 27th that we're going to be doing our next virtual happy hour. And then in December, we might skip it because Christmas and New Year's are on Mondays. So we might just skip it. We might just wait till January. So November is going to be the last of the year. And then, yeah. So guys, I am going to love you and leave you. As always, it is so lovely to see all of you guys. I really appreciate when you come here live. I really appreciate you spending time with me. And it's always a good time. So let me go ahead and pull up our content. There we go. All right, guys. As always, happy grooming.